Hello everyone, Burb here. It's the time you've all been waiting for. It is the Steampunk event, which means we are getting alternate skins for two much beloved characters in Narita Taishin and the character I am very happy to present to you today in Winning Ticket Steampunk. If you are unaware, I'm an oshi for this character. I've been waiting for nearly a year for an alternate skin that is not a one-star version of the character. That is very good. So I am very happy to present to you today a way tune-up guide to the mechanics of Winning Ticket Steampunk. Before we begin, we'll talk about the banner rather briefly. If you are an oshi player like me for this character, this is the most important banner in the history of Umamusume. I only need to say a few words to convince you of that. There's no block side continued time, which is the most finicky thing in the game. We can use the word consistent for a Takezo ultimate. Finally, we will be able to see the animation. Whether or not it's completely useful in every situation is a different story, but at least we will know that it will actually proc. And because of that, this is a late race ultimate that does require a bit of building around, but when you do, it is rather powerful and kind of goes and gives you a little fun little mini game to go in your parent building as well. She is a massive velocity nuke that will have and be very fun to watch as you go and win from the back half of the pack, particularly in the late surger position, of course. Let's go and talk about Winning Ticket Steampunk. But first, remember this is a double banner and Taishin will fix all of her problems as well. So if you like both characters, you have added value. For Aptitudes, Winning Ticket's Aptitudes are kind of sad, honestly. It's very hard to stretch her into many other positions. Mile even requires an additional pink spark to proc. You can only get that up to B, but mainly you'll be running this in the medium and the long position on turf tracks. Everything else is basically G, and you can run her in the pace chaser position for certain different reasons, none of which are really applicable at the moment due to late surgers getting the buff early, but in certain team comps it may be better to get pace chaser, but honestly we're probably sticking to the late surger position on this one. For her bonuses, she has 8% speed, 14% power, and 8% guts, which is a little bit of a weird stat spread, but having any level of speed on a Takezo is a welcome addition, especially in Grand Live, where we are running 2 speed, 2 wit, and an off stamina card for mediums, and for lower ones or like 2,000 meters that actually have downhills, we'll probably be running 3 speed, 2 wit, and the speed button is incredibly powerful on Winning Ticket with having a 21% amplification. So finally, we have speed bonus on Grand Live, making our lives just slightly easier. Takezo's bonuses are actually rather strong. Her unique ticket to your dreams states: moderately increase velocity steadily when in mid-pack or further back on the final straight in the last spurt. Effect increases when activating a skill up to 3 times. It is a rather simple ultimate with a special scaling that is somewhat complicated and you have to build around. The conditions are just be in the last spurt. Now this is talking about the character last spurt, which means that this is essentially the late race in every situation where you're winning. If you stam out, your last spurt is delayed, but if you are not stamming out, which means you have properly built your character, it will proc at the start of the late race. Now the second condition is must be the last straight as well, and this is last straight means that it's basically delayed from the spurt enough on these medium and long tracks to make sure that you're able to get full value of the ultimate. In situations like in certain mile tracks where the straight is rather close to the spurt, you're going to have at least partially eaten by the acceleration zone. It's not always relevant, but on most mile tracks, it's generally rather difficult, but still she has some very powerful skills to think about and consider in those miles. The only other condition is be 4th or worse. You can be in the 4th position, notably in the late surger position. This is on your left, so you're not really going to want to be much closer in front than 4th, and even if you are a backliner in 3rd, 2nd, or 1st, which means you are usually doing rather well. If you proc anything like a nimble nab 0.2 even, you are usually winning the race in that position, so 4th through worst is a rather easy condition to actually acquire. And that's it. We have an ultimate that only requires position in a rather large position and procs at a certain timing. There's nothing else that is required in order to actually proc her ultimate this time. For the actual strength of it, it is a 0.25 6-second ultimate, similar to that of Gold Chip, except it is in the late race and not the mid race, which has quite good ultimates like Xoguri Cap to compete with, which is a 0.45 5-second ultimate for 2.25 distance units rather than 1.5 distance units. So we are worse than Tripols. Or are we? Because we have additional scaling. You see, we have to kind of gas up our little machine here, our little delivery drone, which means we have to go and proc skills. Each skill that we proc while we are in the duration of Winning Ticket Ultimate is going to give us a bonus 0.05 velocity that will extend for the duration of the skill remaining. We, in general, get 0.3 additional distance units per skill. We notice that we have to get up to 2.25 to be equivalent of a tripulse. And if we max it out at 3 skills in addition to the base skill, we get a bonus up to 0.4 for 6 seconds for a 2.4 distance unit ultimate, which is notably more than 2.25, which means we have our 6.7% better than Triumph Impulse and have officially power crept Xoguri Cap. We have a better late race ultimate in theory than Xoguri Cap's Triumph Impulse, which is notably a good skill. Let's just not talk about Taiki Camping having more than us and not having to do any of the hoops that we have to go through. So this really requires one thing. There's a bunch of things like straight skills that you're probably going to load up on anyways that can, of course, randomly proc in the duration of this, and that's rather nice. There's a lot of multi-passing ultimates like Agnes Digital and Symboli Rudolph that are very good in this as well, that will most likely proc slightly late, but we're really aiming for the near guaranteed instant proc final straight velocity skills. I know that's a lot, but basically we are looking for things that will proc almost always, that will proc instantly as soon as our ultimate procs, which means at the start of the final straight, which means they also want to be velocity skills, so we're not just spending skill points on straight skills that don't have any, straight Excel skills that don't have any value in those medium and long tracks. If I were a true Winning Ticket Oshi player, I'd probably go and make a list of all those skills that I have found, at least the ones in the game right now. So, Come What May is one of them. Generally, it is going to proc in the final straight. The only additions is on the long tracks, which of course is the medium skill, which means that all the medium tracks, the final straight, is the late race straight as well. So, Come What May and All I've Got is one that will instantly proc. Pedal to the Metal is the other one. If you are within those 4 horse lengths of the lead on the final straight, it will proc instantly, even though it's a shorter duration, but it is a 0.25, which makes it rather good as well in the parent target. If you're trying to parent loop for this character and many other late surgers, it's very powerful and it does proc on first timing on the final straight if you satisfy all the other conditions. The rest are inherits. Short Swirts, which is Asian Flash Ultimate, is actually a 0.25 inherit for 3 seconds, which makes it better than average because we are a late surger. We most likely will be in the mid pack for the entirety of the race. And when that happens, as long as we don't rush, which means we can really loop in Restraint as well to deter us from rushing, we just proc on the final straight, which will proc instantly, which will proc alongside our ultimate. Red Teo gives us certain victory, which means if we are 5th or better, we are very likely to proc is overtake due to our ultimate because we have a velocity increase. Most likely on these medium tracks, we are at full speed on this final straight, which means that if there is anyone within 8 lengths in front of us, which should happen, and we can see them at all, which should also happen, we can proc certain victory, which will count as one of the skills to instant proc. Shooting Scar of Descoroy is one of the best despite being a 0.15 because Ayabe Ultimate, although you have to be in the very back of the pack for the 0.25, we don't necessarily care too much about that. What we care about is that it procs on the final straight, which this skill procs on the final straight always. Where there's a will, there's a way means we have to pass somebody. Most likely we are passing somebody due to our late race velo nukes, plus we are generally getting Come What May, so we have a lot of velocity, and there will most likely be someone we pass for a single pass rather quickly. Also being in the back half on that, being 4th or worse, let's say, on the final straight is rather likely as well, so that means the 3rd through 9th condition of this will not really matter that much at all. Trigger Beat, which is Air Shakur, is surprisingly good. I talked about this in the Air Shakur video, but basically, if you're not in an active overtake situation, you most likely are going to at least bump against the inner rail while the late race starts, which means that this is a fairly consistent final straight skill, and that's really what we care about it. It is a 0.15, and of course we are going to have a massive velocity nuke, which means we need to get around people, and we can actually speed up because we are changing lanes back and forth, so the lane movement speed is just an additional bonus. You can kind of consider this also with Agnes Digital, although Agnes Digital can proc early. That is why she is not on this list. Measure Arden has a lifelong dream, a bonus flight, which basically just means we need to PTO in the front half. I believe it's front half. Don't correct me on that, or correct me on that rather. But basically, you have playtime's over. You are close to someone behind. There's someone behind you. If there is, it's less reliable, of course, but it is a final straight ultimate. And Asian Flash Valentine just requires you to pass 2 people on the final corner, which hopefully you have hit your Excel and have passed 2 people in that condition. You will go and proc this on the final straight, continuously on the final straight. Yes, making sure I did that right. Nice Nature Cheerleader, go, go, goal, is an inherit that really only requires you being in the mid pack, and you pass a single person on the final corner. It's only 1 pass on the corner, which you should do. If you do that, it procs immediately on the final straight and counts towards our ticker. And Dream Run is technically one that's in the career. This would be an amazing skill if it was anywhere except for in a future career. Unfortunately, it's not, so this skill doesn't exist. You and Me 1-on-1, He, She, Amazon, as long as you're passing somebody in the back at some point on the final corner or later, you will, again, proc on the final straight. And because we're in 4th place or worse on the final straight, that means we had to start in 5th place, which means that we have to be in the zone of You and Me 1-on-1 at some point. And of course, one more. I forgot about this one. Regular winning ticket ultimate is blockside continue time, but hypothetically, if you want to turn this ultimate into winning ticket ultimate, you could just inherit base and winning ticket ultimate on her as well. I think that's all the ones that are in the game at the moment. I certainly could have missed one, but I did my best attempt at it. The inherit itself is a little bit worse, but it's not completely dead. It is basically a triumphant pulse, but you have to go through the same hoops that I was talking about before, which usually is not going to be the most important thing in the world to do, but just note that, hey, it's there. If it procs on your run and you have a lot of late race skills, it's generally like a decently fine acceleration. The only thing that's cut is the 0.25 is down to 0.05. You still get the same bonus from proccing all other late race skills during the duration of this case, 3.6 seconds. So it's not as much of a boost. It's not the absolute worst inherent in the world, but it's probably something you're not really looking for. I'm going to grab a drink of water and let's talk about her. Oh yeah, if it doesn't work, you can just 564 it, right? Yeah, don't do this. Let's talk about her careers after I grab a drink. So if you are unaware, the only real binding thing in winning tickets career is a 3rd place Kakuka show, which just requires you to get some early stamina. It's not too bad. You can usually win that within like 300 to 350 stamina. You should be getting that in a career in general. Now, her secret event, Temporary Truce, is basically the B&W event. What you are trying to do is face off against Biwa Haihide and Narita Taishin, and you have to win 7 or more in order to get some bonus hints for Outer Swell, and if you don't even, you still get some bonus stuff as well. The thing to note is that Biwa and Narita Taishin are scripted to show up one or the other or both into all the G1s past the hopeful stakes. So Saseki Sho, Japanese Derby, Kikuga Sho, Osaka High, Takarazuka Kinen, and the Arima Kinen all have at least one or the other. The only other thing to note is sometimes they appear in the Yayoi show, but sometimes they don't. And I've seen Biwa once in the hopeful stakes, but I can't remember too many times in which it's happened. So most likely, if you really want the Outer Swell hints, you can just go and add an additional G1, and usually Narita Taishin or Biwa Haihide will show up, and sometimes even in G2s or G3s. But in general, even if you don't do anything else, you're getting a bonus 20 stats, and that's kind of winning tickets thing, is she just gives you stuff. It's really, really nice. Her events and skills, just like regular Taishin, Steampunk Taishin, it's sort of more of a chain event. You're going to choose some options, you're going to get some skills because of it. Sorry about that. She is a charming character, which is really nice, honestly, especially in Grand Live when bonds matter so much. And because this is a chain event, this is basically the first one that's going to happen. The first time that there's a slot open for winning tickets. Steampunk's costume events, it's going to go and choose this event, which means that it is going to give you charming immediately, possibly. it's the 10% random chance. Let's be honest, but it's nice. It's a bonus, and basically, if you choose tops, bottoms, or you alternate, it's going to choose the final event in which you get. Most likely, you will be choosing the top option in order to get the medium corners and take the chance as well, which is a very good acceleration skill. This gives you guts and wit. Otherwise, you are going bottom to get the long skills and long straightaways and passing pro, which is in a recovery, and that gives you power and stamina. Otherwise, you can go and mix or match bottom and top or top and bottom and just get some speed and guts instead. One of the best events in the game, Path to Pastries, gives you 2 late surger skills of your choice, either straights and corners or position pilfer and slick surge. This wasn't as powerful on base ticket because you had late surger corners and you had position pilfer, but now you don't have those skills, which means that you can just choose most likely your top option and get both your late surger straights and your late surger corners, or you can go and grab slick surge and position pilfer if you trust your parents enough to have both of those. But this is a very powerful event that is very slept on in a lot, and on things even like outside of champions meeting and 5v5s, this is a rather great thing to have. Also, not to mention that this is still winning ticket as well, so if you do get Nimble Navigator for free, and this event is near guaranteed to proc. I've never seen a run that hasn't procced this, and it was even active in Trackblazer when that happened. Her other event is a Mood Up 2, which usually procs rather early as well. I believe this may be the first one in the chain of base events, or it's somehow weighted, because I always see this rather early, and I always see this one rather early, and this one usually pops up later. But having an early Mood Up is incredible. It's basically having another bonus card in your deck that has mood up events like Kidus and Black without having to do so. Everything about this character is really, I know I'm like biased towards it, but like seriously, this makes it really a lot easier to build as long as you're accepting of white skills. The white skills of winning ticket for all her events are Nimble Nav, which is an incredible acceleration, late surger straights and corners, which are 2 mid-race. You can choose those 2, of course, or you can choose position pilfer, which is fast and furious white, slick surge white, which is of course another acceleration, which is on your left white, medium corners or take the chance for the top options in the costume. Take the chance is a very hard to acquire acceleration for mediums, and medium corners is of course very good on mediums. Long straights and passing pro for the longs if you choose the long option in her costume events. The long straights are good on longs, of course, and passing pro is not the best recovery, but you're a late surger with a recovery on longs, which is rather rare as well. And finally, you do get outer swell for the secret event. So winning ticket, my opinion, has some of the best events in the game. Let's just not talk about Maya's Love of Ice. Now, her innate skills are Downhill Speedster, Position Pilfer, and Full Throttle. 2 of these skills are rather hard to acquire in Downhill Speedster and Full Throttle. People are looping Full Throttle due to its power. It is a 1% stamina drain. However, in return, you get a long duration 0.25 mid-race skill, which is really good. This combined with Position Pilfer is basically a gold in and of itself, so you're basically kind of having Fast and Furious, but Full Throttle just kind of procs in exchange for, of course, the 50 to 75 stamina that it does burn. Downhill Speedster is like nearly impossible to grab. It is situational for sure, but there are certain tracks in which it can act as groundwork. There are certain tracks where it can go and speed carry over, particularly on those Dober tracks that are very good for camping Dober. Similar things with this, Downhill Speedster will go and lead to speed carryover, near guaranteed if it does gamble at the first part of the downhill. Otherwise, her innate skills, 15 mil CC is a uphill. It is basically 1.5 mil CC, but the gold version, it is the one that's on the Tama Cross Halloween one. It's a really efficient skill that has only 240 skill points base, which is going to basically be free if you It's going to be like 200 skill points after all the himp books you put on it, but it's really efficient. It is a 2.4 seconds, so it's a pro curve level of strength at nearly 2/3 the cost, basically. This is the only character in the game with innate 15 mil CC, even in the release of Japan, even where Japanese client is right now. So this is the unique thing that Takegizo will pretty much always have. Now that it only works on 2/3 of the tracks, and 1/3 of them don't even have an uphill, so it's not going to proc, but we don't even talk about that. Now, come what may, is unfortunately what the scenario gives right now, or fortunately if you want to call it, for everybody, but winning ticket is willing to share with everybody, but Come What May is very powerful. It is one of the best late race medium skills in the game because it guarantees procs if you're within second and fifth. You are most likely are going to be in that range somewhat, and it's just a massive velo nuke in the late race that is similar to that of a Triumphant Pulse. Her evolved skills, I just kind of put this in here because they have rather funny names, but superpowered engines, if you get some late aptitude skills or 5 speed type skills, the duration is increased from 2.4 seconds all the way to 4 seconds, making it an incredible late race skill. In the same vein, I Can Fly is the upgrade of Come What May for Winning Ticket herself. If you're in the mid pack at all, you will be getting that additional plus 1 second as well. Both of these are incredible and are kind of going towards the same strategy of being a massive late race velocity nuke. So we have useful evolutions too, but they did change the name from 150 mil CC, which I thought was the better name, to that of superpowered engines. So, we have good things and bad things that Cygames has decided to do. For CM viability, I'm going to grab one more drink real quick. The current CM is dirt, which is very difficult for aptitudes, but however, rest of it pretty much works. The only problem is there's no uphills or downhills, which means our downhill speedster and our 15 mil CC both are not going to help us whatsoever. It's actually rather tough this CM to build a winning ticket, not just because of the aptitudes. For CM 18, the mile CM, the final straight, is a little bit too close, so it will be mostly eaten by the acceleration zone, although this is a downhill track for downhill speedster. And of course, the late race will have the 15 mil, but the ultimate just kind of is a little bit tough, but possible, I would say. CM19 is where we start really getting good. This is a medium track. We have a lot of medium skills. We have a lot of late surger skills. Late surgers are powerful. This is a Christmas xoguri track, however. Remember that. Downhill speedster is a basically 60% chance of a speed carryover, which is really, really powerful. Also, 15 mil CC is very, very efficient mid-race as well. I think she will be actually rather good on CM19. The problem is that this will be a Thanos Snap Christmas Oguri map, which will be a problem in and of itself, but she is certainly viable and we are rather happy. In CM20, this is the Arima Keenan. Pretty much everything works on the Arima Keenan. CM21 is a sprint track. The final straight is too close to the spurt. And remember, this is late. This is final spurt locked, which means we will not be able to speed carry over like the last time we did the Chukio 1200 meter. Downhill speedster is mid-race, and this uphill is also too close. For CM22, the Champions Cup, it is dirt. The final straight is too close. The uphill is also a bit too close as well. For CM23, this is a Satsuki show. The downhill speedster is just generic mid-race, and the 1.5 mil CC is far enough along that it is going to be safe in the early race even, I believe. It's a 50-50 for early race or late race in that case, but everything else should be perfectly fine. For the long, the Tennis Show Spring, she is actually rather strong. 15 mil CC, surprisingly enough, basically is a chance of speed carry over at that point, which is rather rare. Downhill speedster is far enough along past the spurt itself to actually go and give you some late race value, which is really weird. And of course, the final straight is far enough along on long tracks to actually be viable as well. CM25 is a mile track, and the same problems as before are giving us trouble. CM26 is a dirt mile track, which is even worse because it is completely flat. And CM27, they replaced the Derby with some French track that is much less interesting. I have no idea how this is a straight, but somehow the French have managed to do it. But where's my Derby? I mean, she can live. It's a medium track, but still, this is kind of sad. CM28 is another Arima Keenan, so everything works. CM29 is a sprint, which means this time, actually, the straight is far enough along. We might actually be able to at least get some value from the ultimate. And, of course, 15 mil CC is going to be actually rather powerful because it is going to be basically tripulse timing, but it is a sprint, so we are at sprint G, so it's really, really, really difficult. CM30 is the same track as CM29. They just decided to add 100 meters to both the start and the end. It's literally the same track, and somehow they've made it worse. Now our straight is a little bit too close, which means it's a little bit tough to do anything, but our two skills at least are better. We have a near guaranteed speed carryover with downhill speedster, and 15 mil CC is basically a incredible late race tripulse. Then we have CM31. which is, of course, the Dobby. And the Dobby, she is very powerful. The Derby is really, really fun for winning ticket, especially this version. You see, this has basically 2 laps. The first lap has immediately start on an uphill. It also has it again in the late race and, of course, the middle one here. So basically, you are in a 1 in 3. You basically have uphill, 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 going towards the end. You have a 1 in 3 chance that you instant proc Umastand. I mean instant proc it. Like, you will be passing people who proc Umastand in the PDM break. It is that powerful. 150 mil CFC is a gamble for that. In the other 2 situations, it's either mid race or late race. So you are basically grabbing it as well because of that. That combined with the fact that it also is on the final straight right here, 15 mil CC can be used as basically a chance of bonus proc for our ultimate, an additional 0.05. This is also a medium track, so all the medium skills work. You will be procking come what may as well, and this is probably her strongest track, and you will have 1 derby before UAF ticket comes on the next year's derby, in which UAF ticket is the actual derby specialist. So it's really fun that each one of the winning tickets has 1 chance at the derby to go and make a win. You know, in 2027 when this comes out, it'll be fun. Unfortunately, we have a long champ in between. I don't know why they decided to do that, but, you know, we take what we can get. But, you know, there's the derby. For parenting, 32 with Narita Bryan, just like base ticket. And, of course, you have a bunch of other friends. Now, she's friends with a lot of people, but Special Week and Asian Flash, because of the late surgery grouping, has very, very, very high. And, of course, both B&W members due to shared races, as well as Oguri Cap has above 26 or so. Otherwise, she still does have a ton of people in the 20 to 25 range. She's not the greatest indie training because she has no dirt or mile aptitude. Her aptitudes are actually rather sad. So that is the downside of it. So, if you're looking to loop it, I mean, you know, I kind of made this post in loop accord, but you're kind of looking for Umastand pedal to the metal, restraint because of like stuff like Asian Flash Ultimate, and of course Dover and Tail Held High. Those are your primary 4 at the moment, and you're kind of looking for racing power, racing stam, latch on, general good skills, and generally you want to eventually put these on parents that will go and proc the Ultimate. It's kind of a unique situation, a unique parent building exercise. So in conclusion, winning ticket, of course, I am biased because I am an Oshi player, but she is a perfectly viable late surger that is consistent, which is a thing that we haven't been able to say about winning ticket ultimate. Whether you get her now or whether she spooks you later in various polls, I do hope that you decide to try and run her at least on the medium tracks where she is rather easy to build, in my personal opinion. This character gives a ton of comfort that people completely underrate. She gives you almost every late surger and medium skill in the game for late surgers that you would ever want. Now, again, make sure you are doing your poll plan properly. There are, you know, the Tachyon banner is still out and stuff, but for me, this is an Oshi pick, and I have gone and basically saved up a whole scenario's worth of carrots just so that I could pull on both the Tachyon banner enough that I would be good in Grand Live, and also that I could go and throw 30k if necessary for winning ticket herself. I hope that she goes and doesn't require me to pull 30,000 for both her and Taishan, and I am going to go and very much enjoy this character in the next coming years. If you can't hear the excitement that's been in my voice the entire thing, I've been absolutely beaming, honestly. So without further ado, hopefully, whether or not if you do decide to run this character, I hope that she does go and deliver you your dreams. Take care, everyone. Burb out.